Good morning, TechSoup Connect in Southern Africa members. A very warm welcome to today's session. We are going to get started in about a minute's time. For those of you that are just joining in, please mute yourself, switch off your camera, and introduce yourself in the chat box. Today's session is all about online networking. And at the very end of the session, we're going to have a little bit of a practical exercise which will help you with networking. It's called an elevator pitch. So if you know what that is already, please do post it in the chat box. Let us know who you are, which organization you represent, and most importantly, which services you offer to your beneficiaries. As we get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that this session is being recorded. We will send out a replay of this after the fact. We will also have an audio version of it as well for those of you that don't want to watch the video. And in our TechSoup Connect Southern Africa Facebook community group, I will upload this presentation that's on screen for you as well. So Di is in the chat box and she is busy welcoming everybody. Thank you, Di, for that. And we would like to encourage you all to please let us know which organization you're from, because it is going to tie into the very end session, and you never know. Maybe we know somebody that might know somebody that could help you. So while Di is busy admitting everybody, I'd like to ask her to come on camera and to unmute herself. For those of you that don't know, Di is very much an important part of our team. You often see her on camera or on social media with us. And today's session is going to be a little bit different in the sense that we are going to have a presentation on the screen, but her and I are going to be in conversation talking about something that is very important to us at Pombano. We use online networking and online outreach every single day. But for Di and I, we also attend a lot of business networking sessions. And we have done so for our entire careers. So that's why Di is crucially important for today's presentation. And her and I are going to take you on this journey with us. Good morning, Di.
Good morning. It's good to be with everybody, and it's nice to see some familiar names popping up. And we're excited to not only present, but also hear from you today. So sit back and enjoy and participate, because that's what it's all about.
Awesome. Thank you, Di. Okay, so online networking. Is it important for nonprofits? And the answer is absolutely yes. And we are going to tell you why. The first reason why we believe it is important is because it allows you the opportunity to have an introduction to donor or fundraising networks, people, opportunities, initiatives, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, Di has done a lot of research on this. She's written a lot of blogs. She talks to nonprofits all the time about this. And that is why this is our starting point when it comes to, you know, is online networking viable and should it be done by your organization? Now, the important thing to remember is that nonprofits don't only have to network with other nonprofits. What the online world can do is it can give you the opportunity to be seen by corporates, CSI departments, or even small business owners. You know, many nonprofits forget that that little tiny business down the road that might only have just a little bit to give, but can give to you, is also using social media and the online world to get their word out about their services. The big important thing about networking, which is something to keep reminding yourself because we often forget, and that is whenever you go online and you're in this online room, you never know who's watching you. I mean, think about, and Di, maybe you can come in here as well. You know, when you are on your personal Facebook, because I know I do it, I might have, let's say, 300 friends on Facebook, and I post a status update, and I'm not thinking of every single person that I'm friends with that might see it. I might have a couple of people in mind, but sometimes you forget about who is actually going to see your content. Do you find the same, Di?
Yeah, I think I think the most valuable thing for me is that out of the blue, I just see something from another organization, not even remotely connected to what we do as Pombano. And it's such an interesting thing for me that I share it not only to Facebook, I'll share it to other platforms, and it'll start an engagement with other organizations and kind of I'm able to step back and let people do the networking themselves, but it started with a share just because it was something that I thought was valuable. And I think there is so much money out there, to be very honest. It doesn't only have to be with nonprofits, as you say. There's literally so much wealth between businesses and with government. It's how to tap into that. And as you say, you never know who's going to be in a room. You never know who's going to read your Facebook page. Somebody knows somebody who has the heart to match what your nonprofit is offering. And you've made the impression by just sharing, and you get the referral and the mention, and then eventually you get the financial support.
Absolutely. And I think, it's also important when you start exploring online networking as a nonprofit, is to remember, or to take notice of the fact that the pandemic has forced businesses, particularly small businesses, to change the way that they approach marketing and networking. And often what they would be the most inclined to answer is a sponsorship request or a partnership request, as opposed to, hi, we need a donation. So think about your Facebook page. A good tip is the cover on your Facebook page, the cover photo that you can upload and you can change and rebrand. A lot of SMEs want to partner with nonprofits and essentially pay you for the service of having their logo or having something about their small business on that prime spot of advertising or marketing, so to say. And it's very similar to if any of you as NGOs have had fundraising galas or golf days, where you might sell the opportunity for a business to create a marketing opportunity for themselves. So think about your online coverage, think about your online networks, and most importantly, think about how you use the words correctly with the different SMEs or the different corporates. Maybe you shouldn't say the word donation, maybe you should say partnership or sponsorship opportunity. Leading into that, we have to talk about connection, because that ultimately is what drives networking. There's a saying in the business world, which is people don't buy products. People buy services from other people that they trust. If you think of yourself in your normal day-to-day goings about, and I always use this example when it comes to bread and milk. Often you might want to go to different shops and see who's got a cheaper option, but essentially you're going to have a connection with either convenience, if you are on your way home and it's late and you need to just stop somewhere quickly to get bread and milk, or you might want to support a local business owner that is a lot smaller than some of the retail options available, because you've got a connection with them, or you've got a connection with what they are trying to achieve. And this is where Di really does this so well. She does it so much better than what I do, because, I've seen Di connect with like-minded people, because that is what you need to do when you have a networking hat on. It's not so much, Di, would you say, about you telling people what you do when you are networking, whether it's, face-to-face or online. It's also got to do with hearing about what they do. Would you say?
Absolutely. And I keep saying to people, you have to network, and the response I often get is, oh, I just don't feel like another Zoom or online meeting or spending any more time on social media. And my answer to that is, it can't be I can't afford the time. You cannot face any more time. You can't afford not to.
Absolutely.
The bonus of online networking event is that it is actually a time and money saver. If you think about how far you travel to get to an event, even when we host events, it takes me an hour to get to Somerset West, if that's where the event is. I stand around for 3 hours over a cup of tea. I don't actually have the conversations and meet the people that I really, really need to engage with, because everybody else just consumes your time asking you about your day and your dog and your family. And then I have to travel back. Plus, I now get a recording.
Yeah.
To keep that conversation fresh in my mind, and I can share it with the rest of the team when I know that it's things that they can enjoy. So yes, networking. And the bonus for me is always, it's that place for support, linking up with a group of like-minded people. It's essential. And with any event, networking provides us the opportunity to connect with others in our industry. And even though we say you can connect with business people, because that's actually where the money is, connecting with people within the industry who understand the industry, who can give you support, who've been through the struggles, they are your support base. And so in a networking thing, it's way more than just getting the money. It's getting the support and advice from people who've been through what you go through, who know the ropes, who know the channels to access funding, who know the channels to access free services, which us as nonprofits are always looking for. And even as far as getting people in your network who offer special rates for printing, say, because that is something we often struggle to get at good prices. It
Absolutely.
costs a lot of money to have people do our websites. Connect. You may not know that Pambana offers a website service for under 2,000 Rand in special times. So you don't know that if you don't network and you don't visit other organizations' social media pages.
Absolutely. And that, that is the big important part, not just with face-to-face networking, but with online networking, is that you build a connection with somebody or with a brand, and then you have to continuously work on it. And that leads into our next important point, and that is you must network with building a partnership in mind. It's not just a once-off. And what social media and what's, unfortunately the pandemic has forced us into is this digital world whereby we no longer, as Di said, have that excuse to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't come to your meeting because I've got, 10 others and I'm not going to be in the office or so on. There is now a way with our social media that we are always available, which I don't recommend. You need to set some clear boundaries with regards to your operating hours. But the beauty of your digital properties in the online world is that you can build solid partnerships over time through these connections with these partners, with these stakeholders, even with your beneficiaries. You can use the online world to do that, because a lot of the time what we hear is nonprofits will come to us and say, I heard from another NGO that I'm working with that you can give us Microsoft. That's like a stock standard sentence that we get. And that had myself and Di thinking, well, is that word of mouth? Is it networking? Is it marketing? How do we amplify our own outreach to make sure the word gets out to NGOs about the services that we offer? And a lot of it came down to when nonprofits are small, or even if they're big, what we often find is that NGOs have to partner with other bigger NGOs to get the bigger pool of funding. I'm sure all of you on the call have been in a situation like that, or you've heard about that before. And the beauty of that is you can start building those partnerships today with something as simple as a Facebook page. Di, I'm going to ask you to add in here with regards to, NGOs partnering with not just each other, but also from a donor point of view with the larger pool of funding.
Yeah, I just also it makes me think, it's a big challenge, as you can see on the screen, when you start a nonprofit, to find projects that make a huge impact with a reasonable amount of funding. And networking is critical to that success. And as you begin to build your network, you partner with other early stage programs, and you kind of come together and you encounter similar challenges and you work through those. And many organizations, as you say, are very small and they cannot take on the large project from big donors. But how do you connect with those big donors? You have to network. Partnering or becoming a service provider. And we all know that the big organizations get the big money, and then your service providers get any less, and then people who provide the actual work on the ground get very little. But that very little is such a huge investment, because your name gets put out there. Other people see that you are the person on the ground doing the work. And so when a biggest a partnership comes up, you're the person, because you've actually proven. You know, I always say, don't despise small beginnings. If you could get trusted with the small things, you will develop. That is your foundation. So don't think because it's maybe just about for free and we're just cutting our finances and we're just making it, there's no profit. That should be your foundation, that you can build on that. So whether it's a referral or an offer to partner or a request for your service or your product, no matter how small it is, use that to start building a relationship. We know, especially in this landscape, relationship is everything.
Absolutely.
What people see is what they actually, is your testimony. As you know, testimony is so powerful. Yeah. So how you portray yourself is what people are going to look at. People talking about you, your ethos, your transparency. Those are the people they want to partnership. It's very, we all hear it in this industry. Oh, don't work with so-and-so because they stole our money. Yes. And then everyone goes, oops, I don't want to work with them again because they stole the money. But if you are transparent in your social media and your reporting, people will see that that's just actually sour grapes. It's better just to be transparent and use what you're doing as a testimony to build those partnerships.
Absolutely. And added onto that, you know, when it comes to the actual act of networking with that in mind, the best way to do that is to consistently ask the person that you're networking with what they need. It's not about you telling them who you are all the time and what you need all the time. You can only find out about projects that you can partner with when you ask the person on the other side about their projects, which programs are they rolling out? Do they need support in different areas that you know your organization can provide? So often when it comes to networking, you know, we go into it with a frame of mind of, I need to get leads, I need to get the word out about who I am. But in the online world, because we can almost instantaneously switch on a switch that allows us to network, we need to be very mindful of the fact that we don't always have a sales pitch going out there saying, this is who we are, this is what we do. It's more about hearing what other people need and what they want.
And I think also, you know, a lot of funding that comes from governments, whether it's local government or international global funds or, whatever it is, UN Women, wherever it comes from, you will see, and if there are any fundraisers on this call or people who try like me, you will see that a lot of times the proposals that are called for, there's a section of it that says, who are you going to partner with? Yes. Because these people know we aren't all things to all people.
Yes.
So when they see that you are willing to partner, you know what nonprofits are like. We sometimes don't like to share that funding information or donor information because the other organization might just get that funding and then we sit without anything. It's actually better to say, hey, there's a really good call for proposal with X organization or foundation. Let's go and do this together. And you submit it as a partnership. And I really believe you stand a lot more chance in that way, networking and getting someone like-minded to come on board with you and apply for funding, even if it's just little small bits, you know. Absolutely. Sam and I could never, ever roll out the massive big grants that people call for. We would have to call on organizations that we have met through networking to come on board and say, we can do technology facilitated gender-based violence training, but we can't do counseling.
Absolutely.
So we need you to come on board and you do the counseling part and we do the training part, because that's our expertise. So stay with what your cause is called for and get other people to partner with you.
Absolutely. And, you know, I really like your tip about, you know, if anybody on the call, if you're on your email and if you've subscribed to like global giving updates or USAID updates or whichever, you know, big sort of grant funnel subscription that you're on, if you get an email alert, you know, the information is coming to you. And if you know, scan through it, you see it's not viable just for your organization, pass it on. Many nonprofits will remember that and they will return that favor. I'm not saying all of them will, and you'll quickly know which ones won't. And you'll quickly be able to have that connection, and you'll know which NGOs are like-minded or not. But you know, when everybody holds the information close to themselves, even when they can't use it, it doesn't help anybody. And at the end of the day, we as a nonprofit network, we need to showcase that we are supporting each other, because ultimately that is what brings in the big funding. We see it a lot through our one of our programs, NGO Source. So if any of you have done an equivalency determination through NGO Source, you'll know exactly how some of the international donors view collaboration and a partnership network. Yes, they're going to headline one NGO to be the ultimate on the paperwork, but like Di said, they want to see who are your partners, who are the experts that you are trusting with this program, because for them, what's important is that the program succeeds, not the organization rolling out the program. They
and I think there again, Sam, sorry,
no.
there again, so important to let the world know who you're partners with, and don't make it look like you are doing all the work. Give them their glory moments. You know, announce that you're partners, announce that you're working together, announce that they are part of your network, showcase what they are doing, what you are doing, and what you are doing together.
Absolutely. And you know, the good thing about that is when you are online, when you're on your social media and you're posting, you know, content about maybe from an M&E point of view or from a case study point of view, that is your way of doing online networking. Everything about what you do online gives you the opportunity to network. Added to that, it not only gives you the opportunity to learn, but it gives other organizations or beneficiaries or stakeholders, or what I've seen in the last year, donors. Do you know how many donors in the last year I've seen online say, oh my gosh, I had no idea that your organization did that as well. Do you know, I have a friend at a board meeting that I met the other day, and they have funding available for that kind of program. Many donors zone in on just their program deliverables and their stakeholder engagement. And it's almost like having a horse with those, you know, what do we call them? Blinkers or blinders on when they go horse racing. What the online world allows you to do is it allows you to open up that area of scope, and it allows you to consistently show people who you are, what your programs are all about. And before Di takes over this, you know, a very important thing that I want to share about this is please share your program information. I know in the business landscape, business owners are scared of this as well. You know, if we share out all of our information about this, you know, somebody else could copy it and then, you know, go and make profit. But at the end of the day, it comes down to your relationship, to your expertise, and to how you deliver your program. And when you share it online, you might be thinking of it as, you know, an NGO is going to steal it or a donor is going to take it and roll out with it. But you never know when a beneficiary might be Googling and might find it and be able to take something from that and learn. And in a way, you are helping them ultimately, which is what our core mission is as a nonprofit network. But over to you about adding in the opportunity to learn.
So, yeah, we have this saying in our family that you've got to learn something new every day, or else it's a day wasted. And I very much live by that. I think it's because my parents drummed it into us as kids. But with an online life, it is so much easier to learn in our landscape because it's right there in our faces. And I'm not saying you have to sit on social media all day. Sam and I always say, right, we're going to make a cup of coffee, check through our social media, and then we'll have a call and discuss whatever we need to discuss. And it really is helpful if you just set aside that time every day and say, what can I learn from somebody else's, either their mistakes or their successes? What is there that I can learn? And I think when you network, you're able to put across your point of view, but it'll help you expand your knowledge, allow you to see things from another perspective, and gives you something within the group which you are now building trust with, to actually either say, you know what you've done is not working. This is what we've done and it has worked. It might not work for you, but it's really worth a try. And it just provides that opportunity to learn something every day, and to avoid pitfalls that other organizations have experienced. So if you remember one thing, you've got to learn something about the landscape, about social media, about fundraising, about networking every single day. Just make it your business to increase your knowledge. I have learned so much. I think, how long have I been with Pambana, Sam? 2 years?
Yes, or just a bit over than that, yeah.
So my involvement with nonprofits over the last 25 years, various nonprofits doing various types of programming, has really just been on the ground. My digital knowledge, that digital transformation that we always talk about, has advanced so much through trying to learn something new about the landscape every day, whether it's in fundraising, whether it's about technology, whether it's about social media. It's that getting that desire to learn which is captivating and makes you keep wanting to learn. Now I'm able to take that and I'm able to share that as knowledge for other people to learn. So whatever we learn, we're not keeping to ourselves. We're actually using that to share.
Absolutely. And that's the important part, because once you follow this formula that we've been speaking about, where you go into your online networking with the frame of mind of finding out about the person on the other side of the screen. You make sure that you're constantly sharing knowledge and sharing resources that other people can take, and they will then start recognizing you. They'll start remembering you. And in turn, if you do that consistently, the same as what you would with your social media marketing, you will become more visible and you will get noticed. And, I don't know if anybody has heard of 6 degrees of separation online. I think now it's down to maybe 2 degrees of separation.
Two, yeah. Two.
Essentially what that meant when it was 6 degrees of separation is, when you become friends with somebody on a social media platform, the chances of there being 6 people to either side that mutually is like 100%. You will know somebody's aunt or cousin or mother or father or whatever the case, a colleague. And what we often forget as nonprofits, what I find nonprofits often forget, is that when you are on a platform like Twitter or you're on Facebook, we tend to forget that people don't always say what they do for a living. Sometimes they want to use their social media to not think about being the head of a CSI department. And you'll never know that because you may never get to see their personal profile. But they might be friends with somebody who you are friends with on Facebook. And by continuously sharing information and being visible, you may just get noticed by the head of that CSI department, just purely by 6 degrees of separation.
Absolutely.
So think of your online networking as an opportunity to consistently get the word out about your organization, but in a way that is sharing impact and in a way that is creating value for those that are reading on the other side, because you just never know. Di, maybe if you can just give some input from a business networking point of view, in the sense of, you used to attend face-to-face meetings before the pandemic, and that has now been ported onto the online world. How are SMEs or how are corporates viewing this online networking and the whole element of, being visible and being consistent with your message?
An interesting thing I've picked up with, because I have contact with a lot of networking organizations in the business world, they've actually been a lot more accommodating to nonprofits being part of an online networking than they have been when it was in person. And I think it's just because it doesn't matter if it's a non-paying customer, because at the end of the day, they also have to give their money away, and they recognize that this is a really good way of getting to know certain nonprofits and bringing them in. And even though we all say, oh, it's another networking, another Zoom call, another this, another that. And we have seen a lull. I must be honest, I've seen the lull more with nonprofits than I have with businesses, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the lack of drive is. And hence us talking about this today is to try and just bring a little bit more enthusiasm to networking. You can hear we enjoy networking, but we know not everybody enjoys networking. But if we can take that business model, and the business model is not about, and I think Sam mentioned this earlier, I might have just been admitting people and missed it. When you sit in a business networking meeting, it's their time to shine, yes, but they are shining so that somebody else is going to recommend them to somebody else. They're actually not shining to recommend themselves. And that's a real business principle I've taken to networking. I need to tell my story so well and so simply that somebody else can pick it up and say, hey, I met the Pombano ladies. Contact them. They've got a lot of free stuff they're willing to give away.
Yes.
But I've got to make that my story so that businesses who are connected to nonprofits, they sit on boards, will share your story for you. And you are the person that gets more leads. So I think business people have taken online networking a lot more seriously than we can. And let's face it, nonprofits, we have always thought, so nice just to meet other nonprofits and have a cup of tea.
Yes.
And so a lot of the time we've attended networking events, doesn't matter what the title is, but we've networked. And you know what? There is absolutely no reason why we can't do that online. Business people do, and they are doing so well. SMEs are getting their name out. But I still say, Sam, it's through social media channels that people are able to get to know about the networking events.
Absolutely. And, just to add on to that, to keep in mind, when it comes to networking of any manner, whether it's in person or whether it's online, there are so many opportunities for you to save money. So often as nonprofits, we go into a networking session wanting to get donations. But it could start from a point of view of networking with an SME that is maybe a plumber, that will give you a discounted rate to come out and have a look at the bathrooms at your children's home or at your ECD center. And maybe through doing that, that plumber might know an electrician that has got a little bit of CSI money that'll be able to rewire all the lights in your ECD center for you. And through the networking and getting to know more about those SMEs, more about what they can do, you can start that journey of maybe getting something heavily discounted so that in the future it becomes completely donated. That is how the business system works. Not necessarily from a corporate point of view, because it's very different with the CSI perspective, but from a small business owner, and this is one top tip, which I only heard last night. So for the 9 of you that are on the call, you are so lucky to be getting this tip, and I hope none of you have heard this before. But did you know that petrol stations, big chain franchisee petrol stations, a lot of them have got their own little giving programs, which they will support local nonprofits, and the head offices will match what they do. And all you need to do is when you are at the petrol station, go and start networking with the franchisee.
Wow.
And start sending out message to them on social media and build that relationship. Don't go knock on their door today and say, Sam said we must come to you because you can give us money. But you need to network from a point of view of finding out what they do, how they do it, how you can apply, and show them that you're consistently showing up and getting notes, and then use your social media to amplify that.
No, I didn't know about that actually. That's very, very interesting, because I think there are so many people in our communities who will help us. We have just got to get past the poverty mentality, and excuse me for just being blunt, of wanting or promoting that we've got no money and we want it all for nothing. Build the relationship. And so there's two things that I have learned over the years, two things that networking has really taught me over the years. The one is by regularly networking and pushing yourself to talk to people you don't know will increase your confidence, and it becomes second nature. If you told me a year ago I would be here today, I'd tell you, you've got to be kidding. Sam can do it all on her own. But the only way I got to this is by doing it, having the conversations and pushing myself to do it. And it's an important attribute as a leader even, because your organization growth is dependent on talking to people and making those connections. So that's the one thing, really just getting confidence and doing it. And then the other thing is to never get tired of telling my story with excitement, with passion. That drives you, and your networks become your advocate, because you're so excited that they actually can't contain themselves. So very often we at Pambana, and I can really sincerely use this as an example, we will tell other people about your organization because we've read on your Facebook page how excited you are. We've read how committed you are. We've read the struggles that you've had and how you've advertised your successes and the credible stories that you have. And it becomes easier for others to be your voice, and something they can just repeat because they have you singing your own praise, your organization's praises in their ears all the time. So those are my two takeaways on network that I have to remind myself every time I go into a network meeting about those two things. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, and never get tired of sharing your story, whether it's in a meeting or on social media.
Absolutely. And I mean, we wouldn't have a powerful online networking discussion this morning if we didn't share which platforms you should use, or which ones are the best. And on screen, you can see all of them. Because there's no, one fit wonder when it comes to the most perfect platform when it comes from a social media point of view to facilitate your online networking. It comes down to user experience, and I often liken that to the conversation between, are you a Microsoft user or a Google user? It's the same with social media, and it's the same with how you network. Do you prefer to be on Facebook in a group setting? And do you want to go to a local group, or do you want to go to a topic-driven group? So, for example, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Frank Julie's groups on Facebook. He's got incredibly powerful groups. They are phenomenal when it comes to fundraising opportunities and sharing information. But it's not called Frank Julie's group. There's a couple of different topics that he's used for those groups, and that could be a place that you could use to network and do your online networking. But then you also get local groups. So for those of you that are in the animal rescue landscape, you might join a group that is targeted to your geographical location. So Missing Pets Somerset West. If I service that area, and if I know that I can show up in that group and I can share resources about how to make sure your pets don't go missing, how to support my organization when we are out looking for your missing pet, and so on. It's a fantastic opportunity for you to be consistent. But remember, don't just post about what you need. You actually need to talk to what the community is needing, what sort of their pain point is, and start building the relationship with them. Because what you'll find in those groups is when people start recognizing your NGO, they'll start tagging you. So it could be at 3 o'clock in the morning while you're sleeping. Somebody goes onto a Facebook group and says, okay, and I know this is a very bad example because I know many of us don't actually like this. But think of your hospices and so on, where a lot of people seem to, at the end of the year, say, cleaning out my house, I have a whole bunch of stuff that I want to give away. Which nonprofit can come collect? That is such a fantastic opportunity for you as an NGO to further educate individual givers, that if somebody in that Facebook group knows you and they tag you, you can then comment down below and say, thank you so much for bringing this opportunity to our attention. However, we don't have the funds for transportation. Do you possibly know anybody we could partner with? Because we would absolutely love to receive those gifts in kind, but we still need to find ways to put petrol in our car to come and collect. And what will happen is, because it's on an online system and because many people who you don't know are going to read that, you never know if it might be the head of SASOL that might be reading that and go, oh, this NGO is doing this work. I'm in this topical or local group because it's a like-minded topic for me. It's what's important to me. Let me help them out. Clearly, they are credible, they're visible, and they're letting us know what they need, but not in a please give, please give, please give sort of manner, which can be very off-putting. Twitter is also an incredibly powerful platform. You know, you get two different types of tweets. You get those that are very informative and very direct. So it's your call to action, it's your sales post. And then you get the other spectrum, which is completely informative. People use Twitter to share information. I call Twitter the University of Life. In fact, I learned how to do social media to the point of, before there was any accreditation available, I used to follow international tweeters, and they would write blogs and they would share tips before we even had the platforms in the country, often. So you can use Twitter from an online networking point of view of not only reaching out to media and sharing your story and creating a relationship, but you can also use it from tweet chats or monitoring hashtags to see what the trends are, what's the news, and how you can incorporate that into your online networking system. Instagram, of course, hashtags and direct messages. That's where the online networking takes place. And it goes in that formula. So if you're an Instagram user and you post something about your services, or you do a call for donations, for example, use some very specific types of hashtags. So like hashtag nonprofits South Africa, or South Africa causes, because you never know when a CSI department member goes onto Instagram and uses those hashtags to find you, because that's what they do. They Google search and they use their social media to find NGOs. And what then happens is, when they found you via the hashtag, they send you a direct message and you start the conversation there. So you must be able to have your language, you know, a direct message language and a visible public post language is two different copies. You must be able to what's the word? You need to differentiate between those two, and you kind of need to have a script ready. It might not happen immediately, but trust me, write a little script for a DM and make sure that you can keep that conversation going. LinkedIn is the same. LinkedIn, you are going to get attention from being active in groups. And again, you can use it from a local point of view or from a topic point of view. For those of you that are wanting to look for funding on LinkedIn, a good tip would be, after this call, open up your LinkedIn and search CSI Funding South Africa. You never know which groups come up. Or maybe you want to use LinkedIn to try and find volunteers for your marketing. Go into the South African marketing group. Look at the South African volunteer group. There are so many groups on LinkedIn of credible, business-minded people that are willing to offer their services, but you just need to start that step of online networking by just looking for them. Again, that will go into your direct messages. Yes.
Can I add something there?
Yes, please.
I was always very wary of LinkedIn, and I didn't want to create an organizational page. I'm talking a couple of years ago. And so what I did is I started to build my personal LinkedIn profile, which has now become, and Sam will tell you, I use it as another channel to share all of our TechSoup, Pombano, our programming stuff. And that in itself has really gained a lot of momentum. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, you don't have to now go and create an organizational one. You can use your private one, because people do follow people. And build on those relationships. But big organizations, yes, go and create organizational LinkedIn, but don't be put off by thinking we don't have enough to have an organizational LinkedIn page. You can use your private.
Absolutely, and thank you for that, Di, because you are right. I mean, it is something that a lot of NGOs are scared of, particularly with the LinkedIn platform. And another tip for that is, if you are going to only be using your personal LinkedIn, spend the time refining that profile before you go out and look for people and do some networking with them online. So important things like, if you are a qualified social worker, and if you attend, like, for example, this Zoom meeting, I mean, you could create something on LinkedIn that says, just spent an hour learning more about online networking. Can you help me by telling me what your top tips are? And start the conversation slowly on LinkedIn, because when people see that it's something that they can share with you, and it's a business styled resource, that's how you start those relationships. And you never know who you're talking to. And that's what I always say. You never know what they've got to offer or who they are.
I also think, Sam, and some of you might identify with this. When we're starting out on all these platforms, we don't get likes, we don't get shares, we don't get comments, and we get discouraged, and then we go away.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure you're gonna touch on to the news feeds and that a little bit later, so I won't go on to that. I just want to say, don't give up.
Yeah.
Just keep going, keep posting, keep sharing, keep liking everybody else's stuff that you really do like. And eventually people will start to take you seriously, because you've shown an interest in what they're doing, and then they start to show an interest in you. So it doesn't go by 1,000 likes or whatever it is. You just have to be in the back of people's mind and what they see all the time, and the way you engage with them, especially on LinkedIn. I notice it really takes a phenomenal post to get it shared, or a blog or something like that. But sooner than later, it will come back to you, and people will start engaging with you or private messaging you.
Absolutely, and that was the best way to go into the next point on the presentation, because algorithms and news feeds do play a factor with social media. Remember, Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook, not you. There's always an opportunity for any of these social media platforms to just close. There's always an opportunity for our internet to go down. So look at your social media and look at your online networking properties as amplifiers, and focus on writing your blogs and your articles, because the chances of Google going down very slim. I'm not saying that it could not happen, but it's more likely that the internet will not just fade away. And so what you can do is to beat the algorithms and to beat the news feeds. And if you are, not wanting to be on social media in your personal capacity. So think about organizations that deal with child sexual exploitation, or they are doing work that maybe they cannot be out in the public, but they still need to keep the ball rolling with regards to networking. What they can do is they can create websites and they can create forums whereby they can create an online persona that hides their identity for various security reasons, but they can still get the message out there about their cause and their mission. And don't just wait for people on social media to like your post. Put the time and the effort in to get your Google My Business search customers. And how you do that is that you keep your blogs and your articles going on your website. In fact, you can start, if you don't have a website, or if you don't want to write a 1,000-word blog, or you're not quite sure how to write a blog, start on LinkedIn if you've got LinkedIn. There's an opportunity for you to add a note section and to add an article section. You can also do it on Facebook. You can go onto your Facebook page as your business that is, or your organization, and you can add a note, a long form document in a note format. And just start slowly there by writing more about your story, more about what you need. But very important is at the end, use a CTA, which is a call to action, and structure it in such a way that it's not just something that you need today. Because once you put that out onto Google search, it will be there forever, unless you physically delete it off. So something like gifts in kind might not be what you want to put as your call to action, but you might want to put in the process one can follow to contact you if they would like to donate to you, for example, or you constantly need volunteers or interns or whatever the case. Use it as a wish list kind of a call to action, and keep your blogs and your articles updated. Once you've done that, share those on your free Google My Business listing, because you will be amazed at how many people are using Google search to find a nonprofit like yours. Remember earlier on, I spoke about the CSI departments, and they Google search often, nonprofits in Western Cape that have shelters, nonprofits in Gauteng that rescue animals, because they are given a directive by the corporate that they've got X amount of funding and this is who they need to find. So use your free Google My Business listing wisely. You can download it onto your mobile device, or you can upload via your laptop or your desktop. It is completely free of charge. And it gives the people that are using Google search an opportunity to call you, to visit you, to learn more about you. And of course, because it's on the Google platform, if people are using Google search, Google's going to push it up a little bit more for you, because that's their algorithm and their news feed. The last one that's also very powerful is broadcast lists. So for some of you, you may be in the fundraising talk group that was started at the beginning of the pandemic. I think it might have changed in the last couple of months, but that's an ideal opportunity of how like-minded people came together in a WhatsApp group. They were able to chat amongst each other and share opportunities, share fundraising requests, and so on. But it all started from a need for food security. When the pandemic hit, all these fundraisers came together and said, we need to help people get fed. So now that they've sorted that out, because they all work together, a year later, they're now sharing fundraising opportunities with each other and tips and resources about other different topics, which is where the whole online networking system comes into play and where it's the most powerful. Now, this is the last little bit, because I see we've only got 8 minutes left, and we're not going to have an opportunity for everybody to say this on screen, although I would have loved to have had this happen. But this is the best thing that you can do to start with your online networking process. And it's called an elevator pitch. So for those of you that have never heard of the word elevator pitch, think about ever being in an elevator. It's American, we call them lifts. And think about having to be, in this awkward silence, but you might be in a lift with very powerful businesswomen, for example. An elevator pitch is 30 seconds. There is a definite formula to it. It is one that absolutely can help you with your online networking. And the bonus tip, or the go-to tip with this, is that you must always end your elevator pitch with a question. But it must be a relevant question, because you want the person to talk back to you. There's no point in just saying, hi, I'm Sam, I'm from Pambana Tech, because you're not giving that other person an opportunity to tell you about themselves. And that's where the magic starts. That's where you start building the opportunity to network. So you can take a photo of the screen. You can jot down your notes. I will give you my elevator pitch according to this formula. But I do encourage you to please work on this. When you are ready, please go into our Facebook group. It's TechSoup Connect in Southern Africa. We have donors in that group. We have nonprofits in that group that can look at your elevator pitch, and they'll go, oh, okay, yes, I need to partner with that NGO. And it's going to be good practice for you because that group is a safe community where it's all of us that are like-minded, myself and Di are in the group, and we can also help share out your elevator pitch or give you some tips. So before we close off, my elevator pitch is as such. Hi, my name is Samantha Barnard from Pambano Technology Development Center, NPC. We assist nonprofit organizations with their digital transformation by giving them access to donated and discounted software through TechSoup in Southern Africa program. We are based in South Africa, but we serve beneficiaries across Southern Africa. We have 10 countries in total. Tell me, have you ever heard of TechSoup before? So that's just one example, okay? Another example is where I do the whole who I am and so on. But my question would be, tell me, does your nonprofit need Microsoft software? Or have you ever needed to purchase a new laptop, but the software prices have been too high? Can I help you with that? So there are ways that you can adapt this, and there are ways that you can have more than one elevator pitch. But I promise you, if you follow this, it not only helps give you some confidence because you have something prepared and you can practice it over and over and over. Because, you know, I have made the most amazing donor relations in SPAR. I kid you not. People standing behind me in a queue, or if I'm in a pharmacy, or if I go to the vet, or whatever the case, you're in a waiting room and you start chatting to people and you just never know who's there. And if you've got your elevator pitch and you can serve to people that you're talking to, be it online or offline, who you are, who you serve, what your impact is, but most importantly, you end with that question and you get that conversation going. That's where the magic happens. Di, are there any questions? Let me have a look here. I just wanted to...
I think I've answered all of them.
Brilliant.
I don't think there's any more. If anybody... Nope.
Okay, so yes, I see a question has come through. Yes, you can absolutely post your elevator pitch on your Facebook page. I wouldn't just post it out in random today, just as an elevator pitch. If you're doing it from your organization Facebook page, you could say, hey, everybody, we've just heard about an elevator pitch, and what do you think? And put 2 little dots, and then just below that, write your elevator pitch and get your fans and your followers to help you create it. Or you can go into our Facebook group and you can post it from your Facebook page or from your personal Facebook, and we can help you iron it out as well. That was a direct message that came through to me on chat. Okay, no more questions. So just as we wrap up to everybody, a reminder that we are going to have a copy of this presentation and the recording in our Facebook group. We do encourage you to join us on Facebook because we are trying to create a safety net in that group for nonprofits when it comes to online networking, when it comes to social media. It's also so much easier to connect with myself and Di there as opposed to an email sometimes. And we often share in there things that we are doing, myself and Di. So if we're attending a summit or if we're attending any presentations and we see valuable information, we will quickly share it in there because we might not have direct access to your email. We also do have an upcoming event, which is on the 23rd of June. It's just around the corner. And that's going to be a deep dive into cloud cost optimization and management with Amazon. So if you are an Amazon client, or if you are wanting to become an Amazon client and you want to learn more about their donations with their cloud technology, you are more than welcome to join us on the 23rd of June. It's a free to attend event. It will be a lot longer than today's session. We usually host with Amazon about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes. But all of that information is available on the platform that you use to book to see us today. And it will be in Facebook as well, or in the Facebook group. Di, thank you so much for coming on camera and sharing your expertise. I really appreciate it. And my ask is that you post your elevator pitch in the group to get the conversation started with all of our NGOs.
We'll do that.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
I really appreciate it, and I hope that you all are safe and you keep well, and we will chat to you soon on Facebook. Take care now. Bye-bye, everybody.